Namaste, beautiful soul. Welcome to the Blooming Lotus Healing channel. My name is Jikara, and I'm a spiritual healing facilitator. And you know that every Thursday I go live here with different practitioners, different people that are coming in to tell their story, to share sometimes their experiences. And this is the one of those days where we're going to actually talk about something that's very important in the spiritual community. And I really felt compelled to bring her forth to talk about a little bit about her experience. And we also have some exciting things to announce later, but I'm not going to tell you yet. You got to watch until the end so that you know what the exciting news is in relationship with this specific person that's coming in today to talk about discernment in spiritual communities. But before we get started, I just kind of wanted to drop into gratitude and thank you for watching and for subscribing, for sharing, for liking this video. I want to invite you to take a moment to do so now. If you would like to help this channel grow, please make sure that you are hitting that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed yet, or please share and like this video if you feel like this is something that could help someone. And specifically this video, I feel you definitely want to make sure that you share on all social media platforms that you can. So I want to take a moment just to invite y'all to join the Cosmic Light Activation membership. If you want to support this channel, I want to take a moment just to say thank you to all of those who are part of the membership right now. Thank you so much for being part of this community. You are the backbone of this community. You're the backbone of this channel. So thank you so much for being part of that. If you want to join, then I want to invite you to head over to my website, thebloominglotushealing.com/cosmic light activation, and then you can get monthly Akashic Record clearings, and they're collective. And also we have an exclusive portal where you get access to oracle readings that I do every week for the group. And I also have been following the Pleiadian calendar and following some of the teachings from Pleiades. And so I infuse a little bit of that. And also there's exclusive discounts that people that are part of the community get as well. So you want to make sure that you head over to my website and sign up. I cannot wait to see you there. And so enough about this. I'm gonna bring forth this beautiful friend. She's been here before. She taught us about light sight before. And if you've been following this channel for a while, you know that Niki Tune is just incredible. If you're following her on Instagram, she's incredible. She's always sharing things about awakening and ascension, and also lately she's been sharing some things with her children, and all these amazing dreams that they have, and just that encouragement, of course, because she talked about spiritual parenting last time, but today is going to be a little different type of video, and she's going to be talking about a specific situation that she went through, and I'm not going to say much. I'm going to let her tell the experience, but without further ado, I'm going to bring her in.
Hi, so great to be here again. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. Thank you so much. So we got some people here. Tainita and Rachel, thank you for being here. I'm so excited that you're all here. And Niki, for the purpose of just for someone that may be watching this for the first time and may not know you too much, can you tell us a little bit about you and how do you get here to where you are now?
Right. Well, I am a mom of 2 children. They're aged 11 and 7. I homeschool, a spiritual entrepreneur. I teach them how to meditate and how to understand their energy bodies. And so I developed a starseed school for them. I live in Alberta, Canada. And I guess I've just had this, my whole life, I've been deeply invested in all things spiritual, esoteric, etheric. And I've found a way to embody them as a parent and as a spiritual woman. And I'm all about all the things spirituality, and I love researching and learning from others as well. And so I guess that's me in a nutshell.
No, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And One of the things that I love about, we had the conversation about parenting and spirit, like the importance of, conscious parenting in today's world, right? And that's one of the things that you really have on the foreground, right? Like, how can we continue supporting ourselves and our and children into this new earth? And I feel like the conversation we're going to have today is really aligned with that, right? Aligned with that integrity that we're looking to really bring forth to ground here on this planet, which is, to make sure that that we practice safety, right? Safety in spiritual communities is so important. And so, I remember when you sent me the message. You sent me a message on Telegram, and you were kind of you were really confused and really feeling a little with at uneased, right? At a situation that you were trying to figure out, and you were. I remember I felt the energy, and I just immediately remember we just kind of went into like emergency conversation. Let's just do an emergency call, and we ended up connecting. And when you told me what was going on and you extended into it, I was just like, wow, like I was already feeling the energy and the negativity of it, but I wasn't necessarily aware exactly what was happening until you mentioned. And then of course we opened your records, and we found out a bunch of things. But tell us a little bit about the story, because obviously I'm kind of coming in a little later in the picture. You have some things that you want that you definitely need to share before we get to the point where we did the clearing. So tell us a little bit about what happened.
Yeah, so everyone buckle up. Oh my word. This is the most intense spiritual experience I have ever had. And it's taught me a lot. I never saw it coming. So I'm the kind of spiritual person that just loves learning. Everything is awesome, everything is cool. I'll check this out, I'll try that. I don't really have a fear of things that are darker energies or what have you. I've never lived like that. I always believe that if you don't think that that's real, then you won't be impacted by it. Simple as that. And that is always how I've lived my life as a spiritual person. However, I have learned that this is actually quite a different environment than I thought. So I had been, during our lockdown in Canada, during the COVIDian times, as one of my spiritual mentors calls it.
Covidian times,
I
I love it.
yeah. I was stuck at home with my kids, and I was like deep diving on all these YouTube teachers, like, what are they saying about what's happening? What is the spiritual meaning of this? And how do we live like this? And all of that. And I stumbled upon a particular man with his YouTube channel where he was doing free meditations, and he had a particular viewpoint on, what was going on in the world. And I kind of liked his viewpoint, and I was following him for years. It was like, I love this guy. Well, I've always been curious about his healing modality. I listened to podcasts where he was interviewed explaining about it. And then I learned that recently he had been coming to my country. And I was like, wow, look, I can actually drive to where he's going to do this group healing experience. And I want to experience this. I've been following this guy for years. And finally, I don't have to fly out of my country to see him. It was actually his first time in Canada, to be honest. So he had come to our nearby big city, and I drove down to be in this group healing. I was so excited. I had purchased his books. I read his books so I could get a better understanding of him, because I was curious, like, what if I want to learn from this man? What if his healing modality is so powerful, like he says, and like people that were trained with him that I have met have said it's super powerful, this healing modality. So I wanted to learn all about it. But I was, taking my cautious steps, like watch his YouTube lots and listen to podcast interviews and read his books, and then go to his like group healing experience, which is not like a training. It was just a group healing event. And I wanted to feel him out. And so I arrived at this event, and I was super excited, and he built this powerful energy container, so sacred, so vibrating with like energy. It was so great. And I was like, this man knows what he's doing. He knows his stuff. And then he steps into the middle of this circle of women, and a couple of men were in this group healing, and he had like a little microphone piece in front of him, and he was going into explaining what we were going to do with this group with this weekend. It was like a 2-day event. And then he turns to some women who were like shuffling around in their chairs, just trying to get settled and comfortable because it was just starting and they were realizing that there was like a pillar in the room and someone couldn't see him. And he turns to these women and he just totally changed his demeanor. He yelled at them and said things like, "What are you doing?" And I was like taken aback immediately. Like I was in flight and fight mode, but more freeze, and I was frozen and I was thinking like, why is he yelling at them? What is he doing that for? And how come nobody's saying anything? Are they stuck like I am, like curious and afraid and like, in shock? And he was yelling at them and saying things like, "You don't need to be worrying about her. Worry about you. Get out of your head and in your heart." And he was just yelling at them. And I was just like, I would have been so embarrassed. I would have been mortified. I was super triggered and I didn't know what to do. I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. Like, should I grab my bag and get the heck out? I feel like I need to do that, but I can't because I don't want him to like yell at me, and I was really like taken aback by this behavior. And I was in shock sitting there like, what's going on? And trying to gauge the room. It was the wildest thing I've ever seen a spiritual teacher do to a group of people in a healing space. It was quite bizarre. And then a few moments later, he did the same thing to the woman sitting beside me because she was shuffling in her chair and she was like, "Oh yeah." And she was talking to herself because, not loudly, just like muttering under her breath the things he was saying. She like knew what he was talking about because she's been to his healing events before. And then he turned and yelled at her. But at first he like looked at me and then he looked at her and I was like, no, 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 no. So I saw the look in his eyes and it wasn't a friendly look. It was like a cold, hard stare. It wasn't warm. It wasn't with like a touch of humor. It wasn't just like a polite, okay, let's like not talk while I'm talking kind of thing. And then he lays into her like, "Are you the teacher? Do you want to be up here talking? Do you know what I'm talking about?" And he was just challenging her and tearing her a strip. And I was mortified for her. I was upset for her because I could feel her just like her energy just dropped and she sunk in her chair and she couldn't move either. And I was thinking, what in the heck is going on here? Like, I can't process this right now. I need to understand what the heck this is about. I've never been to an event with him. I've never seen him do this on YouTube. I've never even heard any of these people who took his training to explain that this is the stuff he does to like maybe snap people out of it, maybe like wake them up in a really weird, abrupt way. Maybe there's some sort of, I don't know, energy method to this. Like, I need to understand. So the day goes on and I'm still battling in my head, like, what do I do? What do I do? I don't see anyone as upset as I am. I can't feel the room properly to know what's going on. I couldn't take action steps on this. So we did this whole day of group healing and it was breath work. And then what they do is they run code through you, him and his team. They put a hand over your third eye and a hand at the back of your neck where you have a chakra. It's called the God's mouth. And he explains all this. And then you're going to lose your balance. Where we catch you, you lay down and then you're getting activated and then you're receiving coding, right? From like all these other etheric beings that are in this room for your healing. So day 1 was healing and day 2 was activation. And so I did this and I, was more curious about like the experience. And then at the end of that event, I made sure to take all these women that were in this room that I could like point out like you. Like I just grabbed these ladies and I was like, we are going out to dinner and we're going to have a talk. My mission was I need to understand and I need to know how to deal with this because it's not okay. I'm not okay with it. And so I grabbed these women, including the woman beside me, and we went out to dinner. And I opened up the conversation. What was that? Why would a spiritual teacher behave that way? What is not okay? And what behavior should we expect? And how can we understand what happened and what should we do about it? So a lot of the women were, kind of like brushing it off like, well, maybe they needed to hear it. And, he does have his own way. His name suggests that he's kind of like military. And so it was really interesting that nobody seemed to get really angry and upset like I was. So I thought to myself, right, I am going to show up for day 2 because I've signed up for 2 days and I don't think I'll be getting my refund at this point. I'm going to show up to day 2 and I'm going to let him know exactly what I thought of his behavior, right? Because I'm sassy like that. And I never really had a very good rapport with with authority figures, I should say. I don't see anybody as an authority figure over me. And so I went into day 2 and I had a very profound, healing experience on the floor where I had like, the breath work was very intense, which as we know triggers DMT and has you have visions, and you were on a visual journey while you were on the floor. So I had a profound healing experience, in my opinion, because I visited aspects of myself. I went through vortexes and portals, and it was just incredible. And I was sobbing on the floor for like 40 minutes. Like, honestly, it was a really great experience, but I still didn't like this man. I didn't like his behavior. So at the end of that second day, people passed around a microphone and they asked him questions, right? And he would share his opinion or his experience, and he would tell a story, or he would dismiss the comment if he didn't think it was worthy or whatever. He had like a really poor attitude, to be honest. And so I grabbed the microphone and I laid into him and I basically told him, this is how you behaved. This is how it's not okay. This is how I see you now. And I'm not down for it, but I'm glad I came from my healing experience, and that's it. End of story. So I left the healing group weekend thinking to myself, this guy is a piece of poo. Like, I don't want to swear on your channel, but I want to use swear words.
It's okay.
Like he really is like not a good person from what I could feel from him and from how he behaved. He had a very poor attitude. He was like, he would change his behavior very rapidly and then target somebody and like plenty of women cried in this event because of the way he spoke to them. Right. It was really like, it was a full on, what I could see is a level of emotional abuse going on from somebody who was an authority figure, which I was not okay with. Anyways, whenever I did share my experience and what I thought of him, he would just smile and say, well, thank you for sharing, sister, and it was really creepy. And it threw me for a loop. I'm like, he didn't address the behavior. He didn't apologize. He didn't have a conversation around it. He didn't even talk about his behavior. He just thanked me for, for recognizing my trigger and then coming back and healing anyway. So it was like, oh, I triggered you, so that's my job. And that's what I do, right? So it was a really bizarre way of like viewing a healing event. So leaving this big healing event, I apologize. This feels like a long story, but I hope that you're like gripped into it because man, it's juicy. I had a long drive home and I had a lot of time to think and process. Like, I wanted this weekend to tell me if I wanted to work with this man or not. And a lot of me was like, no, I don't want to be in spaces with him. What if he turns and abuses me? How will I react? I'm not used to that level of confrontation. I don't know how to behave when somebody does that to me or to someone else. I certainly don't like it, but I'm not like a fighter, in a way where I will happily engage in a confrontation with somebody who is also bigger than me, stronger than me. And he clearly knows some stuff about energy as well. So it's a little intimidating too. Like, what if he does something to me energetically that I don't like? Anyways, I couldn't, for some reason, get clarity on this situation. I didn't like the teacher, but for some reason, I felt compelled to attend his training, which was going to take place in Sedona. Thousands of dollars, right? I didn't really have the money, but I was like, well, I could, put a deposit down for now and hopefully, generate that income. If the universe is aligned with me going to this healing, I'm going to be there. I think it's powerful. I think that there's something to learn with it. And so oddly enough, I was putting myself head on into working with him. I want to work. I want to learn from him. I want to take all his trainings. I'll do whatever it takes. And yet another part of me was like, but I don't like him. I don't think he's good for me. I need to stay away from him. He's not a good teacher. A good teacher doesn't behave that way. So I had this internal battle going on. And then I was doing investigating and talking to friends and trying to reach out to, a group of psychics and intuitives that could give me clarity on the situation. And then I got my clarity. And it was, oh, no, 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 no. Stay away. That is dark energy. And I thought, no, I can't absorb that. I can't think of it that way. I had this inability to also speak negatively about him. It was quite strange. Even though I really felt that way about it, I couldn't admit it. It was the weirdest thing. So there was like a lot of conflict going on within me. And then I realized my friends are probably accurate and right. I have to get to the bottom of what code was put through me. And that's when I called you, Jikara, and I was like, emergency healing right now. I think I need clarity on what this is, because they put a code through you using the God's mouth chakra and your third eye chakra, right? And then you lose balance, and then they catch you, and then you lay down, and then you're being bombarded with code, which is supposed to be for your healing. But oddly enough, they didn't talk about the code that they were putting through you and what it was designed to
Mm.
do, what frequency it was at. We just all assumed, oh, it's healing. We're here for healing, right? Nobody asked. How strange. Nobody even got curious as to the code. So I had this code in me, and they also do more with you while you're laying on the floor. They do energy work on you and stuff using the healing modality that he trains people in. And so I was curious now, what code is in me? If he is dark energy, like my friends say, then what codes is he slinging and putting through people? Because it probably isn't good. So Jikara, you have got to share what you discovered in my healing session with you, please.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing this. And I hope that all of you who are watching this, what I want to really invite you to really recognize, right, that this story is not a one-time story specifically, when it comes down to this specific person, but not only for the person, but also for other people who are not really operating from a place of integrity. And so, but I also want to invite you to not look at this from a place of fear, but from a place of courage, from a place of truth, from a place of saying no to the things that are not aligned with for your highest good, and always, always following your internal guidance when that happens. However, when the guidance is tampered on, right, which was what happened with Niki, when I went into the records, first of all, this was the first time I've ever had to do anything like this. I've never really had a situation like this. Typically, when clients come to me, it's just basically just programs from other lifetimes, things that happen, blah blah blah. Very very I mean, they're still affect them in a way that it's affecting their life. But this one was really interesting because it kind of brought into perspective things that I have cleared for people from other lifetimes. So I was able to actually witness the energetics of what I have seen from other lifetimes on this lifetime for a lot of people. And so what happened here is that there was a code that was not of the light, right? So we kind of have like a scale. Let's talk about like a consciousness scale, right? So then you're going to have a lower consciousness and you're going to have a higher consciousness. So I'm sure that a lot of you have taught have heard of the 3D, the 5D, all of these different dimensions, right? That's those are levels, right? But there's also levels of consciousness at the spiritual level, right? And so those levels of consciousness are going to range from what we would call hell, right? Like that hellish, demonic type of consciousness, all the way to God consciousness. And this is all for the purpose of duality, right? Duality exists in the universe, and it's just what is, right? In order for us to experience all the colors of the rainbow of consciousness. So this is really happening for our highest good. For us to have these experiences, it kind of reminds us of what love is not, right? So that we can go turn back to love. So that's the reason why I want to invite you to, as you really process what Niki was mentioning here and what I'm telling you here, is to recognize that we want to look at it from a neutral space. So what happened is that the code that this man was working with was a code that was kind of high enough on the consciousness scale, that was kind of like in the light. There was a little bit of light, but it was light, but it wasn't um, in the consciousness of God, or the consciousness of the universal love, right? Like there was no universal love in there. It was operating on a, almost imagine like as if you're looking at a sheep. What is it? A sheep, like with a wolf inside, right? Like there's a wolf inside the sheep, but but you don't see it, right? Because you're like, oh, okay, well, it's a cute little sheep, and look at that, and so cute and fluffy. But really, the reality is that behind everything, what's happening there is that there's other energies that are not really operating from a place of integrity. And that's why it was affecting Niki in a way that she couldn't really use her discernment. So number one was affecting her third eye. So her third eye was basically almost like a cloak was placed on her third eye. So she couldn't have like that ability to discern, that ability to see the truth, even though even though this truth was being presented to her, right? She wasn't able to, like how can she was mentioning, like, I couldn't say anything bad, like, no, I couldn't believe it, like I couldn't. That is the third eye, the veil placed on the third eye, so that you are not making decisions that are for your highest good. The other part was that we found out was that it was applied to her heart space. And the heart space is where we connect to our higher self. So our higher selves basically is connected to our heart, and that's how we connect to God consciousness. So when something is placed on your heart, almost as if there's like a veil placed there, then it's going to be very hard for you to connect to your higher self and can and be able to activate that connection to the truth of your soul. So what we had to do was to remove these codes, right, and the programs, because they were programs that were placed in the process of placing these codes. So we had to first remove the programs, and then the codes were removed. Now Niki is very lucky, because Niki was actually able to she was able to get this removed, and that was it. However, if you have gotten more work done, like, you only got this specific healing session, but if you have gotten more than one work done, then you can potentially have more codes. And I can tell you right now that that's true, because I was able to work with someone who took the training from this person. And it took me several sessions, and we're still working on the sessions for her, because there was so much going on there. So there's a couple of things that are happening here, right? One of them is the fact that we are exposed to these things so that we can see the truth of what is, and what is in existence, so that we can choose wisely where we apply our energy, what we're meant to be doing. Because our energy is precious. Our energy is precious. So our energy, if it's taken by these beings, it's basically taking away the light from where it's supposed to go, right? And so what I want to invite you to think about is, how can you start practicing discernment? I've been talking about discernment on this channel for a while now. And it's interesting, because this discernment conversation has been coming up for me even before this happened with you, Niki. Right? Like, I've been posting here on this channel about this, because I've been guided to share this. So again, I don't want you to get scared, right? But I want you to recognize that you are a sovereign being who is meant to operate in sovereignty. You are not meant to operate by being programmed by others. If there's any sort of practitioner who makes you believe that they are the only ones that have the answers to everything, to truth, then I'm going to tell you right now, that person is not operating from the highest level of consciousness. Now, another thing that I want to mention too, based on what we found, for you, Niki, is the fact that, if you have gotten any sort of, healing, I'm going to put it in quote, healing from someone, and you're feeling any sort of confusion after that, and you're feeling overwhelmingly negative, then you might want to start questioning, right? Whether it is Reiki practitioner or some other practitioner, any other healing modality. You want to take responsibility for the fact that, okay, I'm not feeling good. This happened, and I'm still not feeling good. Make sure that you're going back and finding someone that is of the highest expression, right, of love. And another thing I wanted to mention too, so the healing modality and the person don't have to necessarily be perfect, right? So like the healing modality has to be perfect, but the person is not going to be perfect all the time. However, are they taking, what you want to watch for is, are they taking responsibility for their actions? If they're not taking responsibility for their actions, then that person is not doing the work. The person should be doing the work internally as well, because we get to be, we, of course, like I mentioned before, we get to be a work of art and also a work in progress. But we don't get to just live in the insane place of saying, oh well, I have all the answers, I'm perfect, and you got to listen to me, and I have, and I everything is truth coming out of me. No, it's okay to have conversation. If the person is not acknowledging their behavior, then you might want to question this, right? Like, is it too perfect? Are they showing themselves too perfect to be true, right? And so anyway, so I kind of wanted to mention that because, for example, if you're maybe planning to, maybe you're developing a healing modality, or maybe you're someone who and you're maybe scared now, like, am I channeling this from the right place? You can check these things with your pendulum, right? And so, or maybe you're about to take a healing modality and you're like, well, now that I'm listening to this, maybe you're listening to this for a reason. Maybe you're being guided by spirit, by your higher self, here to listen to this conversation so that you can actually receive the guidance of picking up your pendulum, connecting to your higher self and asking, what is the level of consciousness of this, of this healing modality, and this practitioner's practice, right? We cannot necessarily check the person unless they give us permission, because that would be out of integrity. But you can check their practice. So is their practice right? What's the level of practice? Is it on the lower or the higher? And there's plenty of consciousness scales out there. I believe there's a book out there. I can't remember right now. I will put it on the description below. The name of the book, that you can actually get and learn more about levels of consciousness, which was actually developed by a psychiatrist, and a lot of people use this as a way of following the scale of consciousness. So anyway, so going back to what we're saying, Nikki, finding these two things for you, that's why that's why you were feeling so confused. And then now you're feeling like you can speak your truth, right? Because that was taken away, that was being almost taken away from you so that you can continue. Another thing that I felt was that I felt was happening here was this is also placed in the third eye, so that you can actually continue to purchase their products, right? Like continue to purchase their things. So like there's is there energy of greed? We can ask this also to spirit, to our higher self. Is there any energy of greed in this? You can even check the actual company, the name of the company. If they have it established under a specific name, you can check that. Okay, is there any energy of greed here? Because we're not meant to be here operating from a place of greed. We're meant to be operating from a place of love, compassion, and service. That's what we're meant to be operating in. Now, are we operating from that space all the time? I'm human. I can tell you no. Sometimes my cup is full and I need to go back, but that's when I know that I have to go back and recalibrate myself, right? Let me go recalibrate with my heart space. That is my responsibility. I'm responsible for my soul and the way that I show up in the world, right? And so, as this practitioner taking responsibility for their spiritual health, is this practitioner taking responsibility for their mental health? Is this practitioner taking responsibility for their emotional health? You want to look at all these things, right? Because we are human. But then also recognizing that someone can potentially be doing it from a place of not knowing, and some people could be potentially doing it from a place of just really just purely wanting to just work for the darkness, right? Like just purely just like they believe that that's their calling and that's their sacred path, right? And we get to respect that. But then also we get to advocate for ourselves and for those who may be questioning, right? And also being either abused or affected negatively by this person. We get to also advocate for them. And so, Nikki, I just kind of wanted to ask you. So after we did this session, right? Because we talked about it, and I remember it was very emotional for you that day, and I felt for you. I really wanted to give you a hug, and I couldn't do it because you're far away from me. But I really wanted to give you a hug, and so I kind of wanted to ask you, what do you notice has shifted for you from the moment that you went through this journey, which you were so divinely guided and protected. I just kind of wanted to say, you were guided and protected because all these people came and they told you the truth, and you were continuing continuously, seeking that truth, and that was your guidance, that was your internal your internal GPS, right? But what happened for you afterwards, after that was removed for you?
So afterwards, I mean, I felt immediate relief, because clearly it was quite shocking what things were put in me as frequencies that I was not aware of. And so it was a bit of shock, but also deep relief. I cried on that call with you, because I just couldn't believe that I had walked into a situation where that happened to me, as a person, like I mentioned previously, who loves learning everything I can in the spiritual community, and don't believe in these things where you're bombarded with darkness, where you're a victim of dark energies. I never really lived that way. And so it was a shock to me as well to learn that actually it can very easily happen to anyone, to anyone. And so I have a very powerful connection with my spirit team, my guides, and I was asking them before the event, and I would ask them questions such as, here's an example of a question, which option is in my highest path? Going to this spiritual mentor that I love very much and I've been working with for years, or going to this healing modality weekend where I will likely lead me to my training? And my guidance said both. And I was like, that's not fair. That's not fair. I can't just choose both. I have to choose one. Obviously, I have to pick one. I can't do both. Because of logistics, it just wouldn't work to do both. And I thought my guidance was so off, man. But then I realized actually they were telling me exactly what I needed to understand about it. It was a very, very powerful spiritual awakening part of my spiritual journey to learn about this dark frequency energy that exists and how it can impact a person. So post healing and post clearing, I noticed that one, there was a reason why I couldn't do anything in that healing circle when he yelled at those women. You are immobilized. You can't do anything when he abuses people in circles, because I've heard from people that that's what he does. He uses a frequency to make sure that then he can have fun abusing people and nobody can do anything about it. Pretty sick.
Wow.
And two, I learned that the reason why I was confused, because I had no discernment and clarity. My third eye was cloaked, as you say. The only thing I had was my intuitive knowingness. I knew something was off. I just couldn't put my finger on it. So I felt this confusion, this inner confusion. 3, he placed a frequency in me which drove me to desire his training, even though I felt like I didn't like the guy. So that was a manipulation of my divine free will, is what that was. Because that is not something that you want to learn. You don't want to be in his training because then he gives you more codes so that you're kind of contracted with him. And if you break those contracts, then that's when you're in trouble, right? So scary stuff was really becoming realized as I was able to look back and see the difference. That's why I was locked up, confused, and blindly following, even though he gave me many signs and indications for a logical person to see, this is not a sound person to want to learn from. And so that's what I noticed from after our healing session, Jikara, and it saved me because I was going down that path. But the minute that we did our clearing, I asked for my refund. I asked for my money back from the deposit for the training, which of course was challenging for them to want to let go of. And he specifically wanted to speak to me one-on-one about it. Interesting. Because I felt that there was maybe perhaps a code within me that connected to this teacher, and he would easily pull me back in because he had a technology that was placed within my energy system. And so how scary. And I remember you said in our healing session, you said, it's subtle, so it's not noticeable by you, but it's powerful. And that's exactly what it was. I didn't even know that that's what was happening, but I felt that something was wrong and I just couldn't figure it out, right? So it was not wanting to be noticed, but it was powerful, overriding my divine sovereign free will, overriding my soul path. And that is where I actually got angry. I got angry after. I'm no longer afraid. I'm just really mad now because he didn't just do that to me, but he did that to everyone in that circle. The innocent people that were just there because they want to be healed or that they want to heal others. And they just want to be powerful spiritual light workers because that's what he sells. That's how he gets you. I will make sure that you're powerful. I have a powerful healing modality. Only I know about it. Only I can give it to you. Right.
Mm.
And so I learned important lessons about being a light worker, being sovereign, and taking my power back, in that nobody can give that to you. You already are it. You have to find it within yourself. And,
Yes.
and we fall into this trap that we believe that it's outside of us, right? We believe someone has the answer, someone has the key, someone had an awakening moment and they saw everything and they know what's going on and they're here to tell us. And so we got to listen to them. But at the end of the day, that's wrong. That's their ideas. We don't have to take it on, you know? And I really believe, doing my research in the spiritual community, that you take what you need, you leave the rest, because that's being sovereign, right? And I learned in
Yes.
this case, you eat what he's got to give you, and he will make sure of it, right? With his frequency and his code. So, yes, extremely, I would say, dangerous individual, cloaked as a spiritual light worker. He is not.
Yeah. And after we did the clearing, I was really saddened, right? And I was thinking about it and I was like, why is this being presented to me right now? And I was trying to figure out why, because you could have done, the healing with anyone, but it just happened to fall onto my lap. And I was like, there's something here that I need to know, that I need to do. And I realized I realized that I was, because I've been so focused on kind of just the healing, and let's just that the light, right? I've been so focused on the light that I was kind of being brought to, like, hey, listen, like, there's also the stuff that you want to pay attention to as well. And I was like, okay, we definitely want to make sure that we are aware of this, because there, if we're gonna share anything on YouTube or anything anywhere else, if I'm gonna be helping people, I want to make sure that they know how to protect themselves, right? And so, so that's the biggest thing that I would say. Now, the interesting thing about this situation is that this person has a lot of following, which is so scary to even think about. And then I don't even know how much money they're making, and I really don't care. But that's the sad part about this whole thing, right? Like, these specific people that are going out there and they're taking the suffering or the egoic parts of humanity, and they're capitalizing on this. I mean, if that doesn't scream of the dark, I don't know what does, right? Like, when we talk about demonic, if that doesn't sound like the devil for you, like, and I don't really believe in the devil or whatever, but like, that's kind of like the energy, right, of the devil. It's like, I'm gonna present the things that you want, and I'm gonna lure you in, and then, like, that energy of, like, I'm gonna give you the power that you want, and like all of these things that are very, like, they're inherently things that we as humans have internally, that we get to clarify within ourselves when we do practices such as meditation or prayer, whatever. They exist for that purpose, for us to clarify these parts of us, for us to get more aligned with our dharma, right? But anyway, but what I'm trying to say here is, this person has all of these people that he's been training, and I because of your experience that you shared with another YouTuber, I think you shared this already, and also on your YouTube channel. I guess the sister of a practitioner that took his modality sent her the video, and she told me that, which is, I'm not going to mention her name just to protect her. She told me that when her sister sent her the video where you talked about your story, she just started crying because she realized that she was deep in it, right? She just realized she was deep in it. And I just, my heart was like, my heart was so broken. I mean, my heart was broken when I did this session for you, But when I did the first session for this woman, I am going to tell you, it took me a day for me to integrate what I just witnessed. For the first time in my life, I've never, ever, ever felt anyone really, any energies or anyone watching. Like I felt I could feel the almost like these entities watching her as we were doing the clearing. I had to remove a bunch of different portals in her home. And I could feel that whatever was put into her was watching her. It was the eeriest. It was eerie. It was so eerie. And she had so much code. Like I took a 2 hour, like it was a 2 hour session with her, and I wasn't even done. I mean, I was like, I typically don't tell people come back. I typically just say, okay, just come back when you feel ready. But with her, I was like, I need you to come back because we need this is gonna take some time. And so we did the first one. She told me the feedback that she gave me is that after we did the first session, she was so tired because of course these were all codes that were put in her body. And she said, I was so tired, I had to sleep for days to kind of recuperate from all of this. And I said, I know, because there's so many. I mean, there were codes that were numbered codes that were placed onto her. They were placed onto her God's mouth chakra, the one behind our neck. They were placed there, and her third eye, her heart, her solar plexus as well was being tampered on, so she couldn't express her light, because that's really how we can express our light, is through our solar plexus. And that was basically tampered on. And I was like, wow. And she's very powerful herself. So that, again, when we're dealing with people like this, they want you to come in, and they're using your energy. It's kind of like, it's almost like vampires using your energy for whatever it is that they're doing. And in conversation with Maurice, Maurice, I kind of mentioned a little bit about what happened with you, and I was telling him about how this happened in a healing session that was a group healing session, right? Like he was doing the healing session, and he said people like that, the reason why they do that is because they're siphoning the energy from other people. Like he was explaining that to me. It was like, it made so much sense to me. He said they siphon the energy from the collective, from that collective group, so they can actually do the healings, right? And so they're not really that powerful. It's just that there's all these people who are willingly opening their hearts, willingly giving their energies right into the space. Then they're using that to kind of make this trickery. And so anyway, so with that said, we're not planning to share the name, just because we want to make sure that we practice safety for ourselves. But I kind of wanted to announce something, and I don't know if are you ready to announce it, Niki?
Yeah, you would like me to? Okay. Well,
Okay.
okay. Well, how do I start? This whole experience that Jikara and I have shared in different ways, kind of spurred this realization that we are in a spiritual war, and this is what it looks like. Okay. And so I never really bought the spiritual war thing completely. I thought it was just like a metaphor for, us wanting to learn more about ourselves and be more full of light. And that there are people that try to pull us away from that, and, just generally. But what it looks like is very much this. It is very much an attack on light workers. And so that's why we have to have awareness, understanding, discernment to be able to identify, know what to do. And so we're gathering criteria to clearly identify how you can feel into and understand, opportunities in the spiritual community, such as workshops, spiritual teachers, codes, frequencies that people are dishing out. Because there's a lot more spiritual light workers awakening and offering things, via social media. And we're falling into this trap of like, oh, this one and this one and this one, it's all great. And that's what I did. But I found myself being sucked into a situation where I lost my soul path. I lost my own discernment and clarity. I was derailed as a light worker, and he messed with my true path and calling and took it from me because it was going to be following him only. That's how dangerous it is. That's what they're doing. Okay. And so because of this, we need to create a collaborative community where we reach more awareness about these things. And so Jikara and I have started a collaborative project where we will open up a podcast. We do have a website, and we have a private Telegram channel with which we could use to discuss these things in private, so that we don't feel targeted, so that we have integrity, but we're sharing this pertinent information, because we might feel at risk if we're saying out loud the name of the spiritual teacher or the workshop. And we don't want that type of attention on us as light workers, yet we want to make others aware of it, of our experiences, so that they can have higher discernment going in on their spiritual path and working with other light workers as well, right? And so that is called Discerning Light Workers. Discerninglightworkers.com is the website we have. There is a subscription opt-in where you can enter in your name and email and receive the link immediately to our Telegram channel. And Jikara and I are releasing our first podcast episode. When is that, Jikara?
So our first podcast is going to be in November. We're about to record our first episode next week. And so we're going to be, for now, just because, we're both busy women, we're doing one episode per month. And so if you are someone who wants to share your story, or someone that may have had a situation happen and may want to share their story, please consider sending them over to us, because that's what we're doing. We're kind of giving ourselves the permission to tell our stories. And just think about it this way: if you get to tell your story, you are going to receive so much healing just by being held. Here, Niki and I, we're going to be holding you. We're going to be holding space for you. You are safe. You don't have to say the name of the person, but you can tell your story fully and share. And hopefully, while you sharing your story, not only you're healing yourself, but you're also helping others heal and be aware of situations. And so in order for us to, this was an initiative that we started. Okay, so it was interesting because I just had this idea this week, right? Like this, we just kind of like came together, because I just knew we had to do something about it. It's like, we have to do something about it. And I saw Niki just really going at it on her TikTok, and she was just like really talking about it. I said, okay, but we need to really ground this, right? And so we felt, I felt the podcast would be a great way to ground this, because it can stay there. You can listen to it whenever. You don't have to be watching anything. We're also going to be posting the videos on YouTube as well, if you prefer to watch the video. But it's going to be on Spotify, and you actually are able to listen to the trailer it's already there. We already posted the trailer for the podcast, Discerning Light Workers. So Discerning Light Workers is the name of the podcast. And I'm so excited to go into this venture with you, and to be able to share the light and shed the light into the dark places. And that's basically my job. That's my mission on this planet, is to shed the light onto the darkness. That's basically the nature of my work anyway, with SRT. And so that's like so aligned for me. And for you, it's also aligned, because you're quite literally you're a light worker. So you're here to shine your light too. And all of you who are watching this, if you're feeling, compelled to support, please, and you want to continue listening to these stories, please do reach out to us at discerninglightworkers.com. Sign up for the email list. That's how you'll be able to know when the podcast comes out, and also any new episodes and any other announcements that we may have coming up. It's our little brainchild, a little baby that's starting out, so we would appreciate your support on this. And I kind of wanted to mention too, that I'm already thinking about bringing in a couple of people to share their stories, and then we will also share. This is not limited just to teachers, right? This could be practitioners. So don't feel like, oh, it has to be someone that just teaches to others. It could be a practitioner. It could be someone even in the shamanic community, right? Like in the plant medicine community, there's so much that's out there that's also not of the light, and the plant medicines are being abused for the egoic expressions of these poor souls that are lost. And so what I want to invite you to do is to think about, this is not just teachers. It can also be any practitioner who may have harmed someone, maybe harmed you or harmed someone else. Please consider this initiative as part of that support as well. And the purpose of the Telegram group is to support you, right? So you don't have to feel alone in this journey. I know it can be very scary to speak up, especially when we feel kind of like how Niki was saying, someone is stronger than you. Maybe they feel bigger, stronger, more powerful, and maybe you're scared of speaking up on social media and saying their name. But in the Telegram group, it's going to be private, and you can, you'll be able to open up even more and share even more in there as well. So
Yes, because I
yeah.
would like to share that this is what I would call spiritual trauma. It's trauma, right? And it's not an unfamiliar topic at all. Yet nobody's talking about it enough. Because what happens is that you feel shame. You immediately feel shame. What have I done to myself? I fell for it. I'm a fool. And then you feel guilt because you allowed yourself to do that to yourself. And it's not that it should be a shaming or a guilt experience, but that does come up. And nobody's there to hold that energy with you to say, I was there. I know. And it's okay. It's a trauma response because you were traumatized by being a victim of what we know is a very real energy out there, which some may call lower consciousness or dark energy. It is very real and it does affect you in so many ways. And so within the Telegram channel, we are holding a safe container for people to express their experiences, as well as offer support in understanding how to navigate it, as well as identifying how much other things are out there that we need to be aware of so that we can be protected and feel more confident in our approach to this spiritual journey that we're all on. Because let me tell you, the spiritual community is inundated with false light. And nobody's talking about that either. And so we need to talk about it, bring clarity to this subject, and we can then share tools for our own healing and growth within the spiritual community.
And one of the things that I've already been inspired this morning and last night, I was thinking about what can I do, right? Like, what can Jikara do to help inspire people to connect? And one of the things that we're going to be doing as part of the community is to teach you how to connect to your higher self. And you are going to learn how to do that. You're going to learn how to connect to your higher self, to your pendulum, and that's it. I'm just going to give you the tool, and you're going to move on and connect to the truth. And I've already been inspired to create a chart to take the consciousness chart and create one for the group as well. So that will be part of the things that we're going to be sharing there. It's going to be free, all free for you. I'm most likely going to be recording a video specifically for the group so that you can learn how to connect to your higher self. It's very, very, very easy. You'll, as long as you practice, you'll get to the point where you'll be like, okay, I'm connected, and you'll know when you're connected, and you'll be able to feel when you're not. And so, learning how to practice discernment and using the pendulum, I feel is just a really great way for you to check level of consciousness and check if it's really for your highest good or not. So that's something that's going to be added in there as well for everyone. So I just kind of wanted to share that. I didn't tell you that, Niki, but I just kind of want to share that here. So you're muted for whatever reason.
Sorry, I apologize. I'm excited for that. I really am. I actually wanted to share that before this whole thing happened, I had Jikara. She makes these, and I ordered one, and it came in the mail at the right time. Where I was like, oh, good, because now I can verify some of these things because I didn't trust myself for a while because I had that clarity distortion and cloaked discernment. And so I needed external tools to kind of clarify for me the things that I was feeling in a way that brought me more confidence in my decisions. So I will say that this has been a valuable tool. And I'm excited to learn whatever Jikara has to share about pendulum use and how to use it as a tool for discernment. I'm down.
Yeah, I'm so excited. And so I just kind of wanted to acknowledge at this moment, Tainita, thank you. Peggy, you're here. Rachel, Fabrice, thank you for for your comments here. And if you have any questions, before we basically are at the end of the podcast today, of the live stream today. But if you have any questions, please let us know in the comments. about maybe anything that I have shared, or maybe anything about the Discerning Lightworkers podcast or a group or Telegram group, or maybe you want to share a story that you, or maybe something that happened to you that kind of, triggered this conversation, maybe triggered some awareness within yourself. Please let us know in the comments. And while we wait for that, I just kind of wanted to say, Niki, I it's kind of interesting to me because I'm starting to already think about certain experiences that I've had in the spiritual community that I definitely want to talk about on the podcast. So we'll talk about that off the live stream, because I'm not gonna give it away to y'all yet, of course. But because I want y'all to listen. But definitely I'm thinking of different things that I have witnessed in the spiritual community that were very painful and very difficult, and we don't talk about, and people just kind of, we were kind of shamed into, oh no, everything, with this toxic positivity. But then at the same time, it's like, no, like we definitely need to talk about these things, because how do we heal trauma, these traumatic experiences, right? And so only by talking about them, and sharing. So thank you, Brandy. Yeah, I know that you've been dealing with some things on your end. All right. All right. So if there's no more questions, oh, Tainita, I see some question here. What can I do? What can one do to protect themselves from negative energies as we work with people like this? Befriend the wrong people. How do we safeguard ourselves? So the first thing, Tainita, that I would say is to make sure that well, first of all, is recognizing, right? Recognizing that this is not for your highest good. Recognizing that's the first step. The second step is um, taking a moment to, I'm feeling for you, connect with nature, going outside, feeling into the grass under your feet, and feeling into who you truly are, right? That's the second step. The third step would be to let go, maybe take a moment to write down a letter to that person, and maybe burn it, just to kind of allow yourself to release that. So that would be the third step. And the fourth step, I would say, I don't know, I lost count of the steps, but the next step, I would say, at that moment, once you go through that process of recognizing, of connecting to nature, remembering who you truly are, letting go of the pain and the hurt, then calling in protection from Archangel Michael, or your guardian angels, right? Your guardian angels are there. They're not going to come forth unless you call them. We get to tell them what to do. We are the ones in charge. So and we tend to forget that. A lot of people tend to forget that they're in charge. And so I would say those are the steps. And this is for you, Tanita, and anyone else. Recognizing first, remembering who you are, connecting to your heart, and then releasing what doesn't serve, writing a letter, and then asking for protection from from either your guardian angels or Archangel Michael. Okay.
Can I add to that?
Yes.
Just what you said, Jikara. You must learn about you. You must know who you are, because the minute that you do, you trust yourself more. And so when you're meeting new people and you want to kind of feel into if they're good energy, or if they're right for your path, what I like to do is I like to put my hand on my heart as I speak to people, and then I make sure that I lock eyes with them, and then I take a moment as they're talking and I'm listening to feel them by looking in their eyes, hearing their words and their vibration and their frequency, and feeling into that. And then I'll know exactly who they are. I know exactly who they are. And I'll know that because I trust myself, because I know who I am. And so I think that is really key for having discernment for anyone right away, and to trust the first feeling, instinct, thought you got, and to not question it. Okay.
Don't talk yourself out of it, because I know I've done that before. I've talked myself out of it. It's like, oh no, but giving people the benefit of the doubt. I know that's happened to me so many times. So I love what you're saying there about trusting that first instinctual. Don't talk yourself out of it, because then we get in trouble. So let's see. Fabrice says, yes, I'll share in the Telegram group. Thank you for creating the space. Oh my gosh, Fabrice, awesome. Thank you for joining. And then if you want to join the Telegram group, like I mentioned earlier, we have a free Telegram group. If you want to start joining it now, you can. We will, and then also, the podcast, and also so you know when the podcast goes live again, or live for the first time. Discerninglightworkers.com, discerninglightworkers.com. And that's what you're signing up for, just to kind of keep up with or keep track with what we're doing, this beautiful grassroots movement that we're doing here. So Brenda is saying, I'm late to join, but I have dealt with an abuser in my local community. Thank you for this discussion. See, look at that. It's something that is so needed, in the community. Heal with Carol Hennessy saying, wonderful. So happy I found this community. Yeah, so happy that you're here. So happy, Brenda, that you're here. If you want to share more of your story, or maybe you want to participate in our podcast that we're starting out, please make sure that you go into our website, discerninglightworkers.com, sign up for the email list, and you can go directly. You'll have access to the Telegram group right away. It's starting out, so it's basically bare right now, just so you know. It's starting out, but as we continue to build it, there'll be more things coming your way there. Okay.
What I will share, apologies, Jikara, sorry.
Yeah.
Sarah just mentioned something. Damn, I understand protecting anonymity. Sorry, I can't speak, but I really wish I knew who this was. So I would say Jikara and I have discussed this, and that it's important to name individuals. It is, because otherwise, how are we supposed to protect ourselves if we don't know what it is? And I see this as an action of whistleblowing, right? But in a private, secure environment where we trust that this information won't get out into the larger community, but it is for your personal reference. And so we discussed perhaps having like a spreadsheet, an ongoing spreadsheet, which you can add to, and I will add to, naming the individual and the company name, or you can add the workshop. And so whatever information you feel is pertinent for people to be aware of and mindful of, to use as a way to kind of double check with themselves if they have run into this teacher, or they've been gravitating towards this teacher, then to have higher discernment regarding this particular individual practitioner, workshop, or whatever it is. So we're going to collaborate on an active live document, which people that are in the Telegram chat can add to, so that we do have a list of names in there for your reference.
Yes. And so, Sarah, if you want to find out, or anyone else wants to find out, please consider joining the Telegram group. And the way that you do so is by going to the website, discerninglightworkers.com. You'll get an email automatically that will get you the link, and then we will be sharing that information there. So we should be able to share it by at least the person for today. We can share it today. So we'll share it in there. But as of right now, we want to make sure that we practice shielding. And so part of the shielding is, in the 3D is, knowing when we got to make sure that we are, that we're protected as well. We protect ourselves spiritually, but also in the 3D. So we're just trying to make sure that this is a safe community, and that this can continue, that this grassroots movement that we're starting can actually continue, and doesn't get shut down by people who have more access to funds or capital than we do on this project. This is basically starting just from a place of love, and so in a place of service, really a place of service to the community, and the lightworker community in its entirety. So I hope that y'all can come over. I look forward to connecting to you in the Telegram channel, discerninglightworkers.com. And so, well, thank you, Niki. I want to thank you so much for your time. It means the world to me that you share this here, and that we're starting this new venture together. It's just so incredible that we're gonna get to continue to do this beautiful work of shining our light and shedding the light into those dark spots that need to be done, that need to be shed.
Yes. Oh, it's been a pleasure to be here and to share this part of my story. It's actively healing me when I share. And then taking this action step is again, turning it into a strength, right? And a power that we now have to be able to share and discuss it. So I'm just so grateful for you, Jikara. So grateful.
Thank you so much. I want to thank each one of you for listening, for being part of this. I love you all, and I cannot wait to see you in the Telegram group. And I'll see you. Oh, another thing I was going to announce, I forgot. I won't be live for the month of October. So this is the last live, and then I will be back on November. I'm taking a 10-day meditation retreat. And so I will be basically traveling up to Illinois. That's going to take a long time. So because of that, I'm going to be around 3 weeks out, and I want to really be focusing again. I'm doing my work, right? I'm making sure that I do my part, my spiritual health, so that I can show up for all of you. So that's what I'm doing in October. So I just kind of wanted to share that. And so with that said, I want to, yes, please catch the recording, Arlene. I want to thank you all, and I love you. Namaste.